What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Brandon Lester Fishing. We're going to do something I have not done in quite a while today, and something that y'all know I really like to do. That's crappie fishing. Hadn't been a whole lot. I usually don't crappie fish a lot. You know, it's mid-July. I usually don't start crappie fishing until into August on into September, but I'm going to try to get a jump start on it some this year. You guys like the content and I like making it, so let's go see if we can catch some. We'll fish some brush piles. I got a brush pile right up here in front of me, so let's just see how it goes. I don't know what we'll have to do to get them, but I feel like we can get them. Y'all stay tuned. There's a good crappie. Oh, that's crappie. Barely got that sucker. I got him though. I got him. Yo, eye hole jig. That's a pretty one. Not a giant, and of course that's a summertime fish, so they're a little bit skinny this time of the year. They don't have that great big belly like they do in the fall and winter, but that's probably a 12-inch crappie. Ooh, he's pooping. Y'all look at that. He can poop right on in the live well, because I'm gonna keep me a limit of them today. With it, I'm gonna show you guys my setup here. I've got a Daiwa Gallus reel. I'm not even sure they still make that reel, but any of those kind of middle of the road, lower end to middle of the road Daiwas are real quality. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money on a good crappie reel. I like a 2500 size reel for crappie just because that's what I use most of the time for bass, and I just like to keep it the same. That's what I like. You can use a 1000 if you want to, but keep in mind your gear ratio is really slow on those small reels. I like a bigger reel because I like a little bit bigger, a little bit higher gear ratio, so I can take up line quicker. I've got a 6 foot. Actually, this is the 6.6 Mustad detector rod, light action. I'm using 7-pound vicious braid, vicious panfish braid, 7-pound braid to a 4-pound vicious 100% fluorocarbon leader. The reason I put that leader on there, I believe, some people don't believe it, I believe crappie are line shy, and I believe 100% you'll get more bites with a fluorocarbon leader than you will throwing it on straight braid. So that's why I do that. That's my setup. And you can see, I'll show you a little bit, this school of fish right here. There's brush right out here. When I pan around, you can see that brush, and you can see the fish sitting in the brush. So these brush piles are in about 12 feet of water, and they're pretty much loaded with fish. Now there's a lot of yellow bass in there, there's a lot of bluegill in there, but there's also a lot of crappie in there. And lots of times what you'll find is, not always, but a lot of times when you're dealing with big groups of different types of fish like this, you'll find that the crappie are the ones that are setting the tightest to the structure. So keep that in mind. Not always the case, but a lot of times I find that to be the case. Here's a fish right here. Let's see what we got. Small crappie. We'll measure him. I don't think that's gonna be a keeper. I'm gonna say, been a long time since I looked at crappie, so I don't have my 10-inch eyes on, but I'm gonna say that one's about 9.5 inches. Tennessee, they gotta be 10 inches long. Yep, see, he's about 9.5 inches, so I was about right. In Tennessee, they gotta be 10 inches long, which I feel like's about right, and we can keep 15 a day, so. There he is. I mean, as soon as it gets down in there, it's a crappie. Black nose here. I am 90% sure that's gonna be a keeper, but we're gonna make sure just so nobody questions me. Yep, you'll see that. About 10 and 8. Black nose crappie. That's a good eating size fish right there. My favorite ones to eat. Don't get me wrong, them 14 inches are good too, but my favorite ones to eat are them 10 to 12 and a half inches. They're about the perfect size in my opinion. Go right back in that same spot. And what I'm doing, since this wind's kind of blowing and I'm not gonna say I can't, but I just find it easier if you can find you something over there on the bank. Here's another one right here. What I was saying, if you can find you something over there on the bank and sit there and make that same exact cast over and over again, and you can just get that count down. I'm counting it down 7 seconds. I'll have to measure that one. I think he's a little short. No, he's actually bigger than the last one. 10 and a quarter. Quit, boy, quit. Number 4. Another good keeper. But if you can just find you something over there on the bank, sit there and make that same exact cast and count your bait down to the zone where they are. I'm counting it down 7 seconds. And what I'm using, I didn't talk about my jig head size and my split shot size. I'm using, look, I already had a bite right there. There he is. My jig head size is that's a yellow bass there. It's a 1/32 ounce crappie magnet eye-hole jig head. And I've got a crappie magnet on it. And I've got a number 7 split shot up above it, about 14, 16 inches. A lot of people ask me, why not just throw a 1/8 ounce jig head? Why would you throw a 32nd ounce head with a split shot up above it? It's just my preference, but I believe you'll get more bites, because when you go to a bigger jig head like that, it's giving your bait a bigger profile. That's what a lot of people don't realize. Plus, when you're trying to find it on active target, it's a lot easier to find, because the split shot gives you a return as well. So you're hunting 2 objects with active target instead of just 1. So it just makes it easier to track. This works better. Use what works for you, but it works really good for me. Right back out there, same spot. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look, he already got it as soon as it got down there. I mean, they're stacked in there like cordwood right now. White crappie. I don't see a whole lot of those in this lake. Are they in here? Yes. Actually, those are the native species here. And I tell you what, I don't see many of them here, so I'm gonna throw this one back. I can remember when I was a kid coming over here with my grandfather, we'd catch a lot of white crappie. That was before they started stocking the black crappie and the black nose crappie. Now the blacks and the black noses have really taken over, and that's actually a keeper, but I'm gonna throw him back. I like seeing those white crappie. They're cool fish, and it's good to see that they're still around. They act a little different than a black and a black nose, but they'll mix right in with them for sure. There he is. I mean, it's just as soon as I get it in there. Feels like a pretty decent fish right here. Another good keeper. Another black nose. Tell you what, that's a really good combination when you got a little bit of dingy water. This water, I wouldn't call it muddy by any means, but this water in this lake always has just a little bit of color to it. A chartreuse head with a natural looking body. I feel like that chartreuse head just kind of attracts them, and then they see that natural looking body. Now let me show you what's really impressive to me. I've caught, I don't know, 7, 8 fish. I've still got a little piece of that slab bite in there. Now it needs to be replaced, so I'm gonna replace it. But if I was just threading it on the hook like we used to have to do, I'd have to replace it after every single fish. Now I can just put it in this jig head, just like that. And I like to, me personally, I like to make sure it's in both sides. See, we got it in there good. right back in there and we're good for another 7 or 8 fish, I hope. And I hope this dang wind ain't too bad. Dadgummit, it seemed like last year, every time I got ready to make a video, the darn wind started blowing. I hope it ain't gonna be like that again this year, but I'm fixing to fix that problem. I'm gonna get us a wireless mic and we'll be good to go. There's another one. I don't think this is crappie. I'm wrong. It is a crappie. I thought it was a yellow stripe. We'll measure that one. He was shaking his head like a yellow stripe, but that one's about 9 3/4. We're gonna throw him back. There he is. It's a good crappie right here. Get up in here, boy. It's a little better fish. I'll check that one out. It's a pretty one right there. Hadn't hit it on the fall. It's a crappie too. Another keeper too. Yes, sir. I'm gonna measure him just to be sure, but 10 1/4. There he is. Decent crappie. Changed up my rig just a little bit. Broke off and I already had this one tied on. This is just basically the same exact thing, except that's a 1/16 ounce nickel plated eye hole jig head. Rigged the same way with the number 7 split shot. There he is. Another nice one. Another good keeper. See where we at here. That was number 11. I might have been fishing an hour. That ain't bad. There we go. That's a crappie. Pretty nice one too. Caught 3 or 4 yellow bass in a row and then got us another crappie. Open your mouth, boy. Another good keeper. You can see what I was fishing right here. You can see all this brush right here. You can see all those fish on the down scan right there. And that's what you got to do to find these summertime crappie or really crappie. You know, crappie act different on any different lake, but most of the crappie on the lakes that I fish, they live on brush piles, stumps, things like that. So you really just have to put your time in, idle around and find these places, put that active target in the water and it'll show you where they are. There we go. That feels like a crappie there. Yep. Not a real big one. Well, it might be a keeper though. Might be number 15, just maybe. Yep. Number 15, that didn't take too long. Well, we got us a limit to take to the house anyway. But I'm not gonna quit catching them. I'm gonna keep catching them just because I like catching them and it's fun. This place here is just a little bit deeper. This spot here is about 14, 15 foot. So I'm having to let my bait sink just a little bit further. There he is. Another crappie, but a little guy. Well, I say a little guy. He's actually probably another keeper. Well, that little hook gets him now. There he is. Another crappie. Another keeper too. Bunch of fish on this hole. Definitely not a shortage of fish biting today, and they're not real picky about what they eat either. I've caught them on 2 or 3 different colors, 2 or 3 different size jig heads. All right guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today. Kind of a quick trip, but a fun trip. Caught a bunch of them. I thought I could find them, but I figured I'd have to hunt around for them. I kind of got lucky. The first spot I stopped on was pretty much loaded with them. Then I found a couple more places that had them pretty good too. So it's hot. I would say we are definitely into the dog days of summer in Tennessee. It's been a hot summer so far. It's been up around 100 degrees nearly every day. I've seen water temperatures as hot or hotter than I've ever seen them in this part of the country. I mean, it usually gets pretty hot, but I've seen 90+ degree water a couple of different times this year, and that's pretty dang hot, but they can still be caught. So I'm gonna get these home. I'm gonna get them cleaned up, and we'll see you guys next time.